What's going on, everybody? So don't mind the crazy hair. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And we talk about real stuff on my channel. I'm just an honest dude, especially health and maybe what's going on in the world, and just looking inside, diving deep inside, just looking inside of you. So I actually wanted to talk about being positive and the difference, how being positive is way better than being negative or angry and any one of those emotions that are just kind of negative, I guess. Now, there's nothing really wrong with being negative, first of all, or maybe upset, which is kind of different, but I'm more so talking about being aggressive or angry, maybe even depressed. Suffering comes into play there too, but overall the message, or what I'm going to be talking about, is just remaining positive and positivity. And understand sometimes some stuff, because there was stuff that was going on for me, health issues, that my brain was just racing 24/7 and I could not control my thoughts. I'll say it one more time, I could not control my thoughts, and I don't want anyone to ever get there. But even in those moments, I still laughed, and you can say pretend to smile, fake it till you make it, which not necessarily true, but for the most part, most people aren't going to get there. I will say that, where your mind's racing. That's definitely a health issue for sure, but most people aren't going to get there. But some will, very few, very few, like a couple percent, less than 3%. And that's because basically my adrenals were down and my system was pumping all the time, and so my thoughts were just all over the place. I'm not a person that really excessively thinks at all. In fact, I don't really think at all. But the situation even brought me more so to life's just a feeling, so it's whatever you feel. And you'll know how, if you're really tuned in, which anybody can become tuned into the body, and that's what I preach the most, is that actually feeling, because feeling is everything. It has little to do with thought. Examples of this would be Wim Hof and the Wim Hof method, and the Wim Hof himself. He knows life's a feeling. And same with certain gurus, or ancient people, maybe such as Jesus, whether he was real or not, Buddhists, and even God for that matter, or certain people's gods, or maybe shamans, medicine men. There's clergymen. But when we really look at it, life is just a feeling. And a good example would be going in the cold water. You can't think of anything, you can only really feel. It's really hard to think of something. But what's this have to do with positivity? It's just that how you live your life. I understand there may become a time where we have to necessarily, or someone has to, group people, maybe a whole nation, rebel. I understand the economics and how things go on. It could be really shitty because it's not fair. The money's not distributed fair, and we don't have a lot of things that are fair. But the best thing to do, the thing is, at the end of the day, I understand there's slavery, there's suppression of technology, there's so many things going on, child trafficking, loved ones that are maybe hurt, or something's going on unhealthy, people selling medicine, drugs, and things along those lines that just really aren't good at the end of the day. But I'm gonna get into this, but you need to basically accept yourself and be okay with yourself, with whatever's going on. If you're fat, maybe you do want to lose weight, but use it as an inspiration. Don't be sad about it. Don't be upset. Maybe you will be for a little bit or a second or two, but get over that. If you want to see results, it's up to you to make the change. No one is going to make the change for you. Being mad or people jealous, and even envy, which can propel people to do certain things, but not in the right manner for the most part. Definitely not at all. The thing is, there's nothing wrong with any of these things that I'm about to talk about, or even the ones I just did. But when you're jealous, envy, angry, and just being negative about things, it's gonna set you up to be more negative and propel, or maybe have a snowball effect or domino effect, or somewhere in the future karmic effect where you keep being negative and just a Debbie Downer basically. And trust me, I know a lot of people today, and I'll just come out and say it, don't have spirit in them. They do not have spirit. About 99% of the people that I've met don't have spirit in them. And what I could explain that deeper, and I'm not bashing anyone, but I've seen it all my life. It's not a diet that makes you spiritual. It's not. It can though, definitely can. But fasting is probably number one direct way to make anybody spiritual, in my opinion. Just starving them, because they'll learn quick. But that's not always the case, and not everyone's going to learn the same way and things along those lines. But when I was just talking about people, there's just no spirit in people, you can see it. I mean, whether they're just not being themselves, they're not being their authentic selves, whether what's going on or something's going on. Now, I understand a lot of people aren't healthy and maybe have some health problems, but at the end of the day, it's messed up because, yeah, a lot of people just don't have a spirit in them, or hold back who they really are. And it's a shame, everyone should be loving and happy. And so, but I'm just gonna get into talking about positivity now, and just how if you keep making negative comments, they're just gonna keep coming back in your life basically, and you're spreading it. So if I go up to say just someone random, like that was just across the street, and say, hey, you suck, and I wasn't really kidding about it, like my intentions was, hey, like, you really suck. It's just a vibration from me, and I'm sending out, we can say a spell, but that's just like a weird way of looking at it. Some people like to call it that. It's just a vibration. You suck is just a negative entity. It's just an intention. So when you say it to somebody, they might just ignore it, but you'll start feeding off it too, which will be real negative in its own way, and you'll maybe feed off fear or evil, and that's not actually what you want to feed off. Is laughter and love and compassion. So I've said that to a person. He might try to fight me, or she might try to fight me. He might go home and kill himself, or he might have a disastrous life for the rest of his life for me saying that. And it doesn't have to be necessarily suck. It can just be, you could say something about their clothes, how they look. You suck's a pretty good one though, because it's not really, it's just kind of vague, but it also, no one wants to say you suck. But it could propel them to go harder and maybe have a positive effect on them. But they can come back and shoot you, or shoot your dog. They could rob your place. They could tell a bunch of people and have a whole mob against you. A bunch of things that can go down. But if you respect that person and show them love, or give them a good compliment, which just can go with anybody or anything, it's just, they're gonna reciprocate it more, and you're gonna feel good about yourself. You can go up to somebody and say a nasty comment. Well, you could joke about it. If you're joking about it, it's a little different. But a lot of people just don't have no spirit, and they don't get sarcasm basically. So trying to be funny is not always necessarily the best case. It can be, depending on how you institute it though. That one's kind of like borderline. But just going up to someone and just listen to the way I say, hey, you look lovely today, whether it's a girl or guy, or I really like those shoes, hey, you got a really good smile. You can just reciprocate that by the words that I said, and you know it's like a good vibration. Whereas I came up to someone and I was like, hey, your pants are ugly as fuck. Now, see, I always laugh at everything, so that's the thing, though. People don't take everything I say as a joke. They don't. And I don't necessarily take everything as a joke as everyone else says, but I try to, basically. And because I don't know their true intention, especially when it's over like social media. You don't know how people are actually reciprocating things and giving things off and their pure intention. It's kind of hard, especially through text. Usually you can, though. Usually you can. People, like, for instance, you know, I could lie through this video, but if you're smart enough or you're intuitive, you know I'm not lying. And so if I went up to the same person like, hey, you look ugly, your hair is messed up, and I'm just judging them for some reason, whatever reason, that's just being judgmental. So they're gonna, you know, they're not gonna like that. And I'm not necessarily gonna like it either. So, and you can just see as the words I say, hey, you're ugly, those glasses don't fit you, what are you doing with your life? Because maybe that person's already sad. Maybe that person just had a death in the family, whether it's a cat to a dog, or cat dog, whether it's a cat to a loved one, such as a father, maybe a friend, maybe he's just, you know, high out of his mind. It doesn't even matter, because you don't want to judge anything. You don't want to be judgmental, and that's basically what someone's being negative is. So I'm just gonna squeal, I meant to say, or squash everything I was saying, and we're gonna go back to the real message being positivity, being positive. And sorry, I had to see that someone, but being positive, it's just like an optimistic. You don't have to necessarily think about the future, but or think even about the past, because the past isn't there anymore, and it's kind of negative to bring it up because you want to live in now. But it's all right to share a memory and stuff, and if it's for a good cause or whatever. I'm just saying being negative has never got me anywhere good. The only thing is it's going to get you a karma factor, or it's going to be like negative in some way. It's going to reciprocate back to you in some way. It's just going to like ricochet. It's going to bounce back, basically. You're just like a reflection of yourself. So being positive is just going to be like, it's going to make you feel good. It's going to give you good feelings, goosebumps, honesty. Honesty is just real key. Saying like, for instance, saying like someone smelled and they didn't really smell good, that's not really being mean to someone. That's actually telling them the truth. If you actually feel that way, keep it inside of you, not telling it. Sometimes, you know, if you think it's gonna hurt the person, that's fine. But if you think they need to know it, then tell them. You know, don't hold back your own words either. But because if someone's smelling and, you know, maybe they don't know, and so you go tell them, hey, I think you smell, and it's not really a good odor. I just wanted to let you know that's not really being mean, and the person may already know, or the person may like the smell, or they may be like, oh, well, thanks for telling me. Now I'm gonna get you know, now I'm gonna fix the problem. Being positive, though, is, and you may become friends with the person, a bunch of things. You know, a lot of people end up fighting each other, but they become friends after they fight each other. I've seen this numerous times growing up. Even people who got in arguments and stuff, they end up becoming closer friends or good friends or something, or just friends along the lines. You know, there's a thing, and there's a quote, say your enemy is actually your closest friend, which it is true, because like your number one fan is most likely going to be someone you don't know, whether it's on YouTube, social media, or just a fan in your art or your music or whatever you do, sportsmanship, exercise, whatever it is. Your number one enemy is going to be someone you definitely know. definitely know, for the most part. But anyways, back to the positivity. The real fact of the matter is, the more you put in, you know, you don't want to think a lot, but it's all your intentions to really help somebody. It's always going to be better. It's always going to be better. It's always going to bring such as gratitude, you know, prayers, thankfulness, and just viewing life as beautiful. Again, I just given a lot of examples. I guess someone could see a trap house or a bando or a shack, a shanty, such as like real poor and ugly and not beautiful, which we could pretty much say it is, you know what I mean, at that point. But let's just say someone else, though, another one man's trash is another man's treasure, which is very true. Because, you know, my stepdad, he collected trash all his life, and my family's been, for the most part, a bunch of hoarders. I'm not, but they are, and for the most part. And my stepdad used to collect scrap, and if you know anything about scrap, you already know how the game goes. It's just junk everywhere, and, you know, that's another man's trash, another man's treasure. Everyone sees something different. Not saying you can't say, like, hey, that's ugly, I don't like it. That's fine, that's your personal opinion. Someone else is going to see that trap house, that bando, that shanty, shack, whatever it is, or that poor looking house, that cheap house, that cheap residence, they're going to see it as not beautiful. You know, it's just how you see it. Now, that's a little bit, you know, you can kind of go between that and say, like, it is ugly, okay, it's fine. But as they come to say, as when it's a girl, you may think that girl is ugly, someone else is going to think that girl is beautiful. And, you know, I think at the end of the day, everyone's really supposed to look beautiful. It's just like an actual state of nature, and it's just appearance anyway. But being positive at the end of the day is just going to make you feel good, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And looking into the past, or it's just going to be like negative for them, depending how you're looking into it. But try not to think about the past and the future. You know, if you do, be optimistic about it, be cheerful about it, and reminisce about those people. I hit up some ex-girlfriends like a month or two ago, and whether I was stretching my hips out, and well, one wasn't an ex-girlfriend, but one was, and some people that took me out. One helped me out of depression in my life and was a real good friend to me at the time, and another one was one of my ex-girlfriends, my very first one. And I said to them, I wanted to give them a message before, because if I ever die, I wanted to let them know. I was like, hey, you know, even we don't really talk, I didn't really talk to him, and I haven't talked to him probably a while. But for the most part, anyways, I came up and said, I sent him a message to say, hey, like, I really care about you guys, and the fact that the retrospect that you showed me lessons, and I'm very proud. And in fact, one helped me through depression, because there was a time I did go through that, and this girl helped me through it. And I told her, I was like, yeah, I really liked you for that fact. I really liked your personality for the most part, and I just want to be thankful for that, and thankful for you, and I hope you live, you know, a real happy life, or blissful life, whatever I said. I hope things are going good. And I said, and same thing to my ex-girlfriend, from my first one. And I said to her, you know what I mean, I really appreciate all the things. We used to get in arguments all the time, and sometimes I would judge her. I was real young at the time. I don't do that anywhere anymore. But I didn't like the fact that some things that she did, basically, and yeah, and, you know, whether it was the cause of the breakup or a little bit of it, whether it's on me or half on me, you know, I took responsibility of it. And I told her, you know what I mean, and I just told her I'm happy for you, and I'm happy for the lessons you gave me. So if you are looking back, you know, to cure something, or find hope in something, or just rekindle, doesn't mean you have to go out with the person, but, you know, make connection again and not destroy the bridges. And the counter culture we're in, and everyone wants to say do this. And I'm not saying, you know, being positive, just look at a positive person. Like, there's very few of them for the most part, but if you do find a very positive person, you know, just see how they roll out their lives, and how they're always happy no matter what they do, because they're usually doing what they like, or it doesn't even matter what they do, because they're so in love with life, and everything's just positive. what do I mean by positive? They always seem like they're on the right timing. Even if they have a flaw or an error, which everyone does, or a mistake, they doesn't bother them at all. And if someone does show them hate, they show them love in return, which is one of the hardest things to do, honestly. And they know they're not usually the person that's being positive is not gonna. They're not a person that's going around just banging, just having sex all the time. Just saying like, there's nothing wrong with that, but they're usually like real. They're real happy, and they don't. I'm not gonna say they don't care what goes on, but you know, they kind of just flow like water, basically. Like Bruce Lee said or used to say, if you know who Bruce Lee is. And Bruce Lee was just like, yeah, flow like water, go the path that's the least resistance to you, what makes you feel best. And that's true. I mean, everything's just a feeling, you know. Even if you thought you think someone in your mind, oh, I hate someone, even the darkest person, such as freaking Joe Biden or Bill Clinton, you know, George Bush, you got some of these evil people, Jeffrey Epstein. Even if you want to show them hate, you know, these people, at the end of the day, what their problem is, I'm going to tell you right now, anybody who's evil, the only thing is they're anybody who's negative or real upset or depressed or any angry or anything. These people are all lacking, which a lot of the world's lacking, which is compassion and love. Now, I'm not saying these people are not going to have repercussions for the things they've done. It's not the case at all. But be showing them, like, you know, being angry is just not going to get you anywhere, basically. You know what I mean? And while these people are just lacking love, it's kind of too late for the things they've done. You know what I mean? But I don't hate these people. I don't hate my enemies. I don't hate the person that maybe beat me up before. I don't hate the people that stole off me. I don't hate the people that beat me on something. I don't hate the people that ripped me off on a deal. That's just basically holding a grudge at that point. We gotta let that stuff go and become better. You know, some people necessarily have to face some time or, again, repercussions for what they did, and that's responsible. That's fine. And there's going to be different times where people get different matters of the course of for the repercussions. You know, things may be different from this year to last year, even last week, depending on how the case, who's the judge, who's the witness, what really went on, how to go down. Everything's going to be a little bit different. I do say for the fact that a lot of cases are blown out of proportion, such as maybe like a marijuana charge compared to somebody raping. You know, I feel like there is an unbalance in that. I do feel like that, but we don't have to be negative about it. We can state our counterbalance, our medium, basically. And again, what I'm just saying is just being positive in things, being optimistic, opportunistic too, because even myself, I'll get into things where, like, you know, which is fine. If you don't like doing something, you don't have to do it. But, you know, some people could be out here to steal your energy. Just do what feels right for you. Again, it all comes back to feeling. I'm sure a lot of gurus, priests, whatever you want to say, shaman, anybody who's in tune with their self, basically, and Wim Hof, all the ancients, or maybe even Alan Watts. There's a bunch of people we can go on for days. I'm sure these people would tell you just listen to your inner self. Or intuition, being intuitive, is what really matters. And being positive about things. Like, today is gonna suck. Your words are you know, they're vibrations. So if you say today is gonna suck, it's gonna suck, basically. Or you think it's gonna suck, you know what I mean? If you think, hey, it's gonna be if you got up and said every day, this is gonna be the best day, I guarantee you it will. It kind of has to be, because you said it in the play. Life's about envisions. Before there was a word, I'm going to tell you, God had a word, or John had a word with God, or whatever it was, vice versa. Before there was a word, there was an envision. Everything's an envisionment. Everything. In fact, I think pictures are 1,000 words, because they hold words. They hold vibrations. You always have envisionments in your head, not really such a phrase, where you can have a phrase which really might not be an envisionment at all. I'm not saying you have to have either or, but I'm saying for the most part, someone has a certain location that plays in their head. Mine would be like maybe a sandy beach that looks really nice and on the coast, or maybe a lighthouse that I've had before. There's multiple of them. There's not just one. And other people have other ones, mountains, or maybe a certain place they want to go, and you should follow that through. People have these visions for a reason. If there was no visions, then there would be almost nothing to follow up on. And thoughts are different from visions. And what I'm really getting at then, at the end of the day, is to follow your intuition, be positive, don't be negative. Even if someone's smoking a cigarette, and it doesn't, and if you don't like them smoking cigarettes, you don't have to be nasty to them. You don't have to say it's going to kill you. When it's their time and they want to stop, they'll stop. And if anyone, whatever the situation is, you can't go helping people. You can try to improve them and stuff like that, which you should always do, but don't be mad or upset they're not, changing, because it's up to them to change. They have to want to change. But you always can push people in a fun way, in a fundamental way that's good for their health, not actually being negative and being so harsh on them, which, people in adversity will always come out too. A lot of people come out of adversity, and people being racist, people hating on them for the way they're shaped, their nose is, or maybe where they're from, or just because they're poor, right? And so many other things. But the fact of the matter is, none of that stuff even matters. But people do come out of adversity a lot of times. They shouldn't have to go through it, but that's what the underdog basically is. And sometimes it makes the person, they become a way better person. They become a better person than all the people that hated on them. So, and that's just fantastic in itself. And we just got to look at the positives instead of all the flaws, especially people on YouTube and internet. They always want to find something funny, which is fine. I understand. They always want to come at you, though, for the most part. You could say 100 right things. As soon as you say one wrong thing, they're going to point you out. Or as soon as they see something wrong on your body, they're going to point you out. It's all about the message that someone's trying to give, essentially, not necessarily even if they follow it. Just imagine someone kept telling you exercise is good, exercise is good, exercise is good, and it is good. But let's just say that person that kept saying to do exercise doesn't exercise at all. And wow, he may not be a good actual role model for it, but he kept saying exercise is good, and it is good. And it's helped a lot of people exercise. Meanwhile, whether did he follow through and actually exercise? No, not at all. But it's more so the message. You can't fault him. Just really listen to the message of people. It's not necessarily what someone looks like or does. Actions are louder than words, but words can change a person too. I've seen it a million times. I've seen it in myself. It goes actually both ways. Actions can be just as loud as words, though, for the most part. They can be. I know a bunch of people's messages that lifted people up. That's the vibration that's coming from within and how they feel. At the end of the day, how someone makes you feel is what is real. How someone makes you feel, you're always going to remember. Yeah, and I just wanted to say, again, back with what I was just saying, it's about the message someone gives. So it's about the actually true intent of it, whether they're following through or not. It's the true message. It's, so, and actually what you believe in. So don't let anyone kill your beliefs. You make them install your own belief system, and whatever it is, whether you want to have a belief or system or not at all. So that was a pretty much longer video. I'm probably going to end it there. Main takeaway from this video, subscribe to the channel, is to be positive and don't judge people. Question things. Ask questions. Pretty simple. Feel more, think less. I don't know how much other people think, but I would imagine it'd be a lot, because a lot of people think and don't say words, or don't express their thoughts, or maybe they do through art or music or something, through another way. A lot of people don't say how they actually feel, and they bottle it up inside, and which isn't good at all, obviously. But I don't know if people think a lot, but I think we are taught to be an intellectual creature from school or from the start, which So most of us are. We're not meant to be that way. We're actually meant to feel. We're actually empathic, and we're actually also telepathic. And I can say prayer, if you actually look at prayer, you can actually send a thought to someone anywhere. There's various ways to do this. You can hold your body in certain ways too, which is kind of occult in mysticism or mystics. There I could send my friend a message that's up in New Hampshire right now, or Vermont, and I could send him I only think for everyone else love. So my message would be, I don't have to say it, it can just be a thought intent. And it's the same thing with prayer. You're just making good intention. You're making good intentions. No one's gonna put their hands together and think, hey, it's impossible, basically. And so my friend up in Vermont, I'm just gonna send him a message. Like, I wouldn't say it out loud, though I could, but I'm just gonna say it for the sake of the video, which would be like, I hope you're doing good. I hope you really because he's working on a farm, you really like that milk you're drinking. And I hope you're living your best life, and I hope your health's good. And I hope you find that woman you've been looking for. Now, I don't need to say that, and I can just think and have the intention, and it goes. It could seem crazy to you, but it's very true. Things aren't really coincidence at all. Things happen in your life for a reason, and you think about someone you haven't seen in a while, boom, they pop in your life again. Happens all the time. I see it it happens more so than not. And happens all the time, actually. So in me sending that message to him, it's just a positive message. He's gonna get it. Now, he may not get the whole message, you know what I mean, whether regardless, but he may just start to feel good randomly, or just feel super happy out of nowhere, or not to say he wasn't happy, or just something good. He might find money on the ground. It's just gonna be something positive, basically, because I sent him energy. It's very true. It is very true. And that's how the world works, actually. It goes around like that. So your intention does. Just think, and if you don't believe that, then you can really look at prayers. Because prayers, that's exactly what prayers are. And prayers do get answered, and they're just about sending energy. People are really sending you energy. It's not, it's just true. It's something you can't necessarily see, though. But it can be a phenomenon, and it can be seen. So just as like auras giving off energy. I don't want to make this video too long, because not too many of you are going to watch the whole video. But so that's it. Positivity, just remain positive, whatever the outlook is. Instead of giving someone a negative compliment or comment, because that's just give them something positive, whatever it is, or give them a good question. Maybe give them a question that you could change your perspective on it. Such as maybe you didn't like their book, it didn't interest you that much. Someone wrote a book, you didn't really like it. Well, you could be like, well, what made you write that book? And then maybe it makes you understand it a little bit more, or see the reasons for them writing it. Okay, that's pretty much all I have to say. So thanks for tuning in, and I appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel. Say it a third time, fuck it. And just really be optimistic about life, and cheerful, and live that journey and adventure. Have a nice day. We're all on our own adventure. Not everyone's adventure, not your best friend that you've been with all your life is going to want the same adventure as you. So take that into consideration. It could even be your spouse. It could be your girlfriend. It could be the one you're married to. Sometimes the journey for you's not the journey for anyone else. So just keep looking and keep going. Have a nice day.